No one could ever be admitted here, since this gate was made only for you. Franz Kafka, Before the Law. Envision a world where the ordinary is only a facade, hiding layers of confusion and absurdity that challenge your grasp on reality. What if the mundane routines of everyday life were a labyrinth designed to test the limits of your sanity and freedom? In this video, we'll delve into the Kafkaesque universe where simple acts become inescapable traps and where the everyday is a gateway to existential dread. Join us as we uncover the profound truths buried in the deceptively familiar, revealing that the real horror may not be in the darkness, but in the blinding light of what we consider normal. Welcome to Pondering Psyche, where we dive deep into psychology, philosophy, and big ideas that make you go, In this episode, we encounter the concept of the Kafkaesque, a term derived from the absurdist narratives of Franz Kafka that vividly depict the alienation and existential anxiety of modern life. Association with human beings lures one into self-observation, Franz Kafka aphorisms. Born in Prague in 1883 in what was then the Kingdom of Bohemia, Franz Kafka's work received scant, if any, attention during the author's life. However, since his death to tuberculosis in 1924, his ideas have permeated the 20th century cultural landscape, expressed in other works of literature, visual arts, and films like Terry Gilliam's Brazil, Martin Scorsese's After Hours, or George Lucas's THX 1138. These narratives and others like them encapsulate the nightmarish qualities of our contemporary reality, where illogical bureaucracies and opaque oppressive systems pervade the mundane. Kafka's narratives transcend storytelling as they are explorations into the human condition, with themes like isolation, paranoia, and the surreal bureaucracies that dominate our societal landscape its bleak milieu. His work, while rooted in the personal experiences with family dynamics and professional life as a law clerk and insurance officer, universalizes the existential crises and frustrations that resonate deeply with anyone confronting the absurdities of life. Why should the Kafkaesque matter to you? Because it reflects the surreal struggles and existential dilemmas we all face, where personal agency often feels stifled by larger, incomprehensible bureaucratic forces. Kafka's exploration into these themes offers not just a mirror to view our personal and collective psyches, but also provides a lens through which to understand the often absurd reality of human existence. So join us as we pull back the Kafkaesque curtain, examining the horror of the mundane and discovering what it reveals about the absurdity of our modern world. Kafka's life and the Kafkaesque universe. If there is a transmigration of souls, then I am not yet on the bottom rung. My life is a hesitation before birth. Franz Kafka, The Diaries of Franz Kafka, 1910 to 1923. Born into the culturally rich yet tumultuous Kingdom of Bohemia, Kafka's upbringing in a middle-class German-speaking Jewish family set the stage for his lifelong themes of isolation and alienation. After completing his education in law, Kafka entered the professional world as a law clerk and later as an insurance officer. These roles exposed him to the inner workings of bureaucratic systems, which he found both oppressively mundane and illogically complex. This first-hand experience with bureaucracy heavily influenced his literary exploration of similar themes. In Kafka's narratives, the ordinary often serves as a facade, masking layers of confusion and existential dread. In his novel Der Prozess, or The Trial, we delve into the nightmarish worlds of Joseph K., a bank clerk plunged into the inexplicable gears of a surreal legal system. On the morning of his 30th birthday, Joseph awakens to an arrest that bewilders him as much as it does the reader. Without explanation or charge, Kafka thrusts us into the core of his Kafkaesque universe. Joseph's attempts to comprehend the legal proceedings mirror his and our struggle against life's opaque bureaucracies. Each dilapidated courtroom in a tenement block to the absurd legal advice from his lawyer intensifies the sense of disorientation and isolation. Kafkaesque dread blooms as Yosef navigates a labyrinth seemingly designed to undermine his sanity. While Joseph K's struggle reflects the external chaos imposed by an absurd legal system, Kafka's Metamorphosis shifts this existential dread inward, exploring how the surreal transformation of an individual can lay bare the alienation and isolation inherent in everyday life. In Metamorphosis, we witness the disturbing and inexplicable transformation of Gregor Samsa, the diligent salesman who wakes up one morning to find himself transformed into a gigantic insect. Unlike Joseph K's entanglement with an incomprehensible legal system, Gregor's transformation traps him within his own body and home, exposing him to a new kind of horror. Gregor's metamorphosis strips him of his human identity in the eyes of his family, reducing him to a repulsive creature that they can barely tolerate. Kafka uses Gregor's plight to critique the dehumanizing effects of modern work life, where one's worth is measured purely by productivity. The once mundane act of providing for his family becomes a source of alienation and despair, highlighting how societal roles can suffocate individual identity. As Gregor grapples with his new, horrifying reality, his family's true nature surfaces. Initially dependent on him, they soon resent his monstrous form, showing selfishness and cruelty that reflects the indifference of bureaucratic systems seen in the trial. Gregor's room becomes a prison, a microcosm of his world where the familiar becomes grotesquely unfamiliar, and existential dread seeps into every corner of his existence. Through Metamorphosis, Kafka invites us to confront the fragility of identity and the alienation embedded in societal expectations. The narrative forces us to question how much of our humanity is tied to external perceptions and our ability to fulfill societal roles, making us ponder the deeper implications of our mundane routines. Kafka's personal struggles with identity, professional dissatisfaction, and feelings of alienation permeate his works. Through characters like Joseph K. and Gregor Samsa, Kafka explores how mundane existence can become a trap, ensnaring individuals in systems that strip them of their sanity and freedom. In this way, his poignant narratives resonate with anyone who has felt overwhelmed by the seemingly nonsensical demands of modern life. As we arrive at the midpoint of our exploration into the mind of Franz Kafka, Pondering Psyche asks that if you are extracting value out of this discussion, that you please like, subscribe, and share this content with others so we can continue to produce compelling explorations of humanity's greatest philosophical, psychological, and intellectual ideas. Kafka's themes in modern context. His weariness is that of the gladiator after the combat. His work was the whitewashing of a corner in a state official's office. Franz Kafka aphorisms. Franz Kafka's work as a law clerk and insurance officer gave him a front-row seat to the convoluted mechanisms of bureaucracy, fueling his vivid depictions of bureaucratic nightmares. His characters often find themselves entangled in impenetrable webs of red tape and arbitrary rules, mirroring Kafka's own frustrations. Today, these Kafkaesque themes are starkly evident in the following four most oppressive bureaucratic institutions on the planet. The Department of Motor Vehicles. DMV is the emblem of Kafkaesque bureaucracy in the United States, with its labyrinthine procedures and interminable wait times. Tasks such as renewing a driver's license or registering a vehicle can become exercises in frustration and endurance, reflecting the inefficiencies in impersonality Kafka so poignantly depicted. The Internal Revenue Service. The IRS, particularly during tax season, embodies the complexity and intimidation of American bureaucratic systems. Taxpayers grapple with intricate tax laws and the fear of audits, fines, and imprisonment. Much like Kafka's characters navigating their inscrutable trials, illustrating the anxiety and helplessness induced by such systems. His Majesty's revenue and customs, HMRC's slow processing times, and convoluted tax codes echo Kafka's portrayals of a legal system designed to perplex and ensnare. The lengthy decision-making processes and bureaucratic hurdles serves as modern-day equivalents to the bewildering trials faced by Kafka's protagonists. Regional transport offices, RTOs in India, known for their red tape and corruption, present real-life labyrinths that Kafka would recognize. Navigating the required procedures for vehicle registration and driver licensing often involves endless paperwork and bureaucratic hurdles, not to mention numerous accusations of corruption within the system. By examining the Kafkaesque in contemporary bureaucratic institutions, we gain a deeper understanding of the absurdity and existential challenges that Kafka so brilliantly articulated. The psychological depths of Kafka's work through a Jungian lens. I write differently from what I speak. I speak differently from what I think. I think differently from the way I ought to think. And so it all proceeds into deepest darkness. Franz Kafka, Letters to Family, Friends, and Editors. Carl Jung's theories, particularly the concept of the shadow, provide a powerful lens through which to understand Kafka's work. The shadow represents the darker, unacknowledged parts of our psyche, the aspects we deny or hide. Kafkaesque scenarios can be seen as external manifestations of this inner shadow. When Yosef K. faces an incomprehensible legal system, or Gregor Samsa transforms into an insect, or we ourselves face the oppressive impenetrability of the IRS or the DMV, these absurd predicaments can represent the confrontation with suppressed fears, guilt, and anxieties. These experiences often leave us powerless, much like Kafka's characters. Through Kafka's narratives, we are invited to engage with our shadow, understanding that the chaos and confusion in his stories mirror the unresolved and often ignored complexities within ourselves. Through a Jungian lens, we can extract meaning from these seemingly meaningless encounters. Recognizing these experiences as reflections of our inner struggles allows us to approach them with a new perspective. Rather than feeling overwhelmed by the absurdity, we can use these moments to explore our own psychological depths, addressing the repressed aspects of our psyche that these situations reveal. In this way, the Kafkaesque can become a pathway to greater self-understanding, helping us to navigate the complexities of our inner and outer worlds with more clarity and resilience. Kafkaesque cinematic visions. Our art is a way of being dazzled by truth. The light on the grotesquely grimacing, retreating face is true, and nothing else. Franz Kafka, The Blue Octavo Notebooks. The Kafkaesque is vividly brought to life in films like After Hours, THX 1138 in Brazil, each exploring themes of alienation, absurdity, and the oppressive nature of bureaucratic systems. In Martin Scorsese's After Hours, protagonist Paul Hackett finds himself trapped in a nightmarish version of New York City, where every attempt to return home is thwarted by bizarre and surreal obstacles. This descent into chaos mirrors Kafka's tales of ordinary individuals ensnared by inexplicable forces, highlighting the absurdity and helplessness of modern life. George Lucas's THX 1138 presents a dystopian future where humans are controlled by a totalitarian regime, stripped of individuality and freedom. The film's sterile, oppressive environment and the protagonist's struggle for liberation echo Kafka's exploration of dehumanizing systems and the struggle against an uncaring bureaucratic machine. Terry Gilliam's Brazil presents dark humor with dystopian horror, depicting a society overwhelmed by inefficient bureaucracy. Protagonist Sam Lowry's quest for freedom amidst nightmarish red tape and invasive surveillance captures the essence of Kafkaesque despair. The film's labyrinthine bureaucratic structures and surreal dreamlike sequences underscore the themes of isolation and the futility of resisting an overpowering system. Together, these films translate Kafka's vision into visual narratives, immersing audiences in worlds where the mundane becomes a source of existential dread, and the struggle against absurdity is both relentless and inescapable. As we conclude our introduction into the realm of the Kafkaesque, I invite you to recognize and reflect on the Kafkaesque elements in your own life. How do the mundane routines and bureaucratic entanglements you face mirror the disorienting worlds Kafka created? And if today's journey into the horrific absurdity of Franz Kafka's worldview has sparked a flame of curiosity within you, let's keep that flame alive by clicking on this video for a deep dive into how H.P. Lovecraft's terrifying vision of cosmicism invites introspection on our place in the cosmos. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more psychological and philosophical content to improve your quality of life and unlock the mysteries of your inner world.